Hi, everybody. It's LV here, founder of Factor 8, the sales bar and girls club. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about field selling versus inside selling or virtual selling, demystifying some of the history behind these two different routes to market, the differences between them, how to decide which one's right for you as a business owner as well as a seller, some of the benefits in both, and then diving deep into the most specific roles that each employ, what's expected of you in those roles, and how to get ahead. So we're going to pack a bunch into this. And at the end, you should have absolutely no questions about all these different types of sales roles and go-to-market strategies. So tiny bit of history. My name is Lauren Bailey. My friends call me LB. I grew up in sales. I was a virtual salesperson. I was a field salesperson. I was a sales manager and a sales leader. I went back and forth trading hats between sales leadership and training leadership. Basically, I was so frustrated that my new reps and managers would come out of training not really knowing how to do the job that I went and built training departments for a while. My last corporate job was with SAP, and I was the global head of training strategy, and I helped them shift from field sales approach to inside or digital virtual sales approach by launching inside sales centers around the world. 13 years ago, I jumped out and started Factor 8, where all day long I get to help those frontline sellers and managers learn the tactical hands-on skills to help them be more successful faster. I love that. I've personally been involved with hundreds of promotions. That's my favorite part about the job, and what inspired me to start Girls Club, my most recent company, where we're all about helping change the face of sales leadership by getting more women into sales leadership. So I know whereof I speak. I have watched this transition from field to virtual happen hundreds and hundreds of times, and from individual contributor into leader in sales as well. So I hope that you can grab a lot of really good value out of this, and I'll tell you how to get a hold of me at the end if you have any more questions. Here we go. We're going to start with the big picture. If you're new to sales or wondering, should I be in sales? Should I be in marketing? Let's look a little bit at the difference, okay? There's the old way and the new way. Now, this is the buyer's journey. There's lots of different pictures and depictions of this. In fact, I'll show you another one in a few slides. What you should see here is that I'm starting with a general awareness of a product, company, or service. Maybe I'm getting it from a billboard. They say we're not even aware of the first few times we're exposed to something. Then it takes 7 to 13 of those exposures to get us all the way down the funnel till we're ready to purchase. Now, sales used to be about half of the funnel. In the last 15 years, you've probably heard people talking about the buyer's journey. What they mean is, since the advent of the internet, we do a lot of our own research out there, right? We're in charge as consumers of a much larger part of the funnel, and marketing has responded beautifully to that. We see much more information available on websites, content everywhere. I can do so much research. In fact, with the best sites out there, I can search for one thing just to find alternate things recommended to me. I can see what my peers like. I can read reviews. I can do everything I need to do almost all on my own, which means the sales portion has shrunk. That's true when it's an individual buyer and a business buyer. Sometimes that might come off like sales is less important. It actually means we're more important. Buyers are coming to sellers more informed, and we have got to raise our game as an industry to meet the buyer where they are. All right. Think about the last purchase you made. How much research did you do? Did you ever talk to a salesperson? If so, at what stage was it? And how did they help you? So notice here, that's that right side, marketing shifting down further, right? And sales is really taking over that evaluation and purchase decision. And as we just talked about, sometimes not even then. All right, so let's talk about the difference now between B2C and B2B. What we just talked about, me buying something on Amazon, is business to consumer. Amazon's the business, I'm the consumer, right? I bought something for my personal use. I bought a house recently, so I'm doing a lot of B2C purchases, everything I need for this house, okay? B2B is business to business. That's the more professional sales. So if you had a sales job in high school or college, you were probably retail or B2C, right? When you have a professional sales career, it's business to business. Cool. All right. You might also find in business to business slightly higher ticket price items, a little bit more complex, a little bit more service required. You'll also find multiple decision makers and multiple users, okay? Both are experiencing the change in the buyer's journey. So I'd like to introduce to you that selling is actually a helping career. Gone are the days, you guys, of that horrible image of the used car salesman. Selling is working with someone to help them shift right here from that thinking about it mode into that I'm getting serious mode, from research mode into evaluation mode. And the salesperson's job is to pull out your goals and your challenges and your desires and help them find the right alternatives, help them better evaluate the alternatives. When the seller isn't there, the buyer will stay up in information search. They might even experience analysis paralysis. I'll tell you a quick story. When I started Girls Club, I offered it free management certification and training and confidence building and all that good stuff to help you get a promotion. As you can imagine, I had about 10,000 people hitting my sites, right? Way up here in the top of the funnel. And then the process was to get more information, to fill out an application, to actually apply. I went from tens of thousands to five. 5 people converted themselves to filling out an application. I learned from my lesson the next year, and I layered sales into my marketing approach, right? The website, the downloads, the getting information, that's all marketing. Sales is when I hired somebody to call these people, talk to them about their goals, desires, and challenges, and help shift them into evaluating the alternatives and making a decision. Oh my gosh, we went from 5 to 100. That's the difference. That personal touch is where marketing translates then into sales and where it makes all the difference in the world. All right, so let's talk about how important sellers are. Not only do I want you to think of sales as a helping profession, but I'd like you to see just how critical it is. CEB did a survey recently, and they talked about what percentage of your customer loyalty or repeat customers are dependent on their experience with sales reps. In other words, how important are you, me, us, sellers, to the buy-in process, to the ongoing loyalty to a company, right? If I'm doing most of it by myself, I'd expect this number to be low. Guess what? It's not. 53% of a buyer's decision to stay with a company is based on their sales rep. Just to put this into perspective, that's more important than the actual product or service the company sells, and more important than the actual price of that product or service, and more important than those two things combined. That's a really big deal. It's critical, not just to get folks to pull the trigger, but to stay with us as well. Let's talk about some of the great benefits of being in sales. If you're already there, you can shout from the rafters with me. You can even probably add some key benefits to this. But here's what I'd like to introduce to you and encourage you to research further careers in sales. Number one reason on the board, of course, is earnings. OTE stands for on target earnings. And what that means, you guys, is it's your base salary, which is where most jobs stop, plus any commissions, bonuses, options, and spiffs. Now, all of those are fancy ways for saying pay to play, right? Pay for performance. If you're somebody who's excelled at school, excelled in sports, excelled at life, get paid for it. Sales is the one profession where you can absolutely double or triple your income compared to others. The second thing I love about sales is the flexibility. Whether you're out face-to-face field selling, meeting with people and making your own schedule and deciding when to fly and how to get there and when to meet, or you're working virtually and building your own schedule during the day, either one, you have the flexibility to end sooner, to skip an hour. I pick up my kids every single day from school when I'm in sales. I come back, I get a little bit more work done. I work my time, but I'm in charge of my day. And that makes all the difference in the world. I'm not opening and closing a shop at specified times. Does that make sense? The line doesn't have to keep running without me. It's an independent job, and I love the independence and the flexibility that brings. I want you to also recognize the variety. Even if you're selling the exact same product, every single time you sell that one product or service to a different person and company, it's a new experience. The reasons why they need it, the challenges that they're having, their current situations, their budgets, the people, etc. Now, what if you're selling 10 products with 100 add-on services? Each one is an interesting mix of situations. I love that. I can't stand the repetitive nature of some other jobs. So sales gives me the variety I love. Probably most important, you'll never have a job where you don't use your sales skills. Okay. If you want to be the top of a company someday, it's a most important requirement that almost every single large company, especially the Fortune 500 have, that you have to take a turn through the sales department. Thinking about running your own company one day, I'm telling you, most entrepreneurs don't fail because they don't have a great product. They fail because they can't sell it. Super important. Think you want to stay in corporate America, not sure where you want to go? I look at sales as a mini MBA. Every day you're talking to different decision makers, high level people. You're learning about corporate processes. You're learning new terms. You're learning about new industries. If you can look at it as an opportunity to expand and grow, you will love the job of sales. Now, the thing I didn't put on here is if you're drawn to winning, if you're drawn to the competition, If you love the W, there's no other place. There's no, and maybe a professional athlete that you'll be able to do it as often in sales, whether you pick field or inside. So let's look at that next, okay? You've got your kind of stereotypical pictures here of what both of these look like. And just by looking at the picture, you can probably guess which job you're most likely to get right out of college, right? Field selling is face-to-face selling. It's guys and gals who carry a bag, press the flesh, go on site, and wine and dine. Virtual selling is also called digital sales or inside sales. It used to be called telesales. Now be clear, it wasn't called telemarketing. Telemarketing were the B2C people who called to sell you a credit card at home. B2B sales is professional selling, just using the phone and the internet and email instead of having to be in person. And I'll tell you more about those differences as we go on today, okay? We're going to look at when they're deployed, when the benefits are for each, etc. But the truth is, there are hard parts and easier parts to both of these jobs. And 20 years ago, it only looked like this picture. You weren't going to get a field sales job unless you had 20 years of experience. You were always going to start in virtual, and virtual selling was the 22-year-old with the baggy jeans and the headset. Not so much today. The lines are absolutely blurring, and I love hearing about companies who are now having the field sales teams revolve around, report to their virtual sales teams. I love hearing even more about companies who are equaling the comp between the two. Okay, it used to be to get the big money, you had to go to field. Not always true today, and I'll share a little bit about why. So let's look at when companies deploy field or virtual sales. All right, one way to look at this is product complexity. If I've got a great, big, confusing product, I'm gonna need field sales, okay? If I've got a product that people are easy and comfortable buying, I can do it on Amazon, I can do it on Amazon auto ship, I'm not going to attach a field seller to that. Remember, the field seller is probably the most expensive and the most time consuming. But if the public is not yet comfortable with your product, if it's confusing, if it's multifaceted, if your users will have a lot of questions, you're probably going field-based. Think of medical sales. It's been traditionally field forever. Why? People have questions. These are drugs. These are things we're putting into our bodies. What about something that's a custom fit? Would you order custom window coverings and trust your own measurements, or would you like somebody to come on site and measure that for you? What if you had a massive piece of machinery that had to be fit into your machine shop, right? With all of your other machines to work on the line. It's not something that's a 5 minutes of research, click and buy kind of thing. Somebody needs to come on site, see what you need, make sure it's the right thing, and make it fit. Cool? Think about the same with a home. Would you do it without getting on site? Would you do it without a realtor to walk you through all of it? All right. Inside sales is in between those two. It's not such a commodity. I'm super comfortable buying it quickly and easily, but I don't need to see somebody. I don't need to put my hands on it. I'm okay answering and asking some questions, getting some more guidance along the way, and then pulling the trigger. And of course, it's inside sales that's growing and kind of bridging the gap between those two. Let's look at it another way. I think this maps beautifully the product life cycle, because I could have drawn the same chart from complexity to price. The more expensive, the more I might want somebody to look me in the eyeballs when I buy it. But the product life cycle is truly the map of field to e-commerce. So if you haven't seen this before, when a product is brand new, in fact, I'll tell you a story of some friends of mine who started a new software company 10 years ago. They didn't just start a software company, though. They started a software category. This was something that people had never bought before. It was in development. They were introducing it to the market. Their sales cycle was long. It took months. They needed to have really high-level people who went out and educated and explained why we needed it, what it solved, how it was different. Nope, it's not like anything you've seen before. Here's what it is and how it works and why you need it, okay? Nobody was looking for it. It was tougher sale. They had more expensive field sellers. Now, more people have entered this market. The category is mature, right? It's grown. People know it. They're shopping for it. Not everybody has it yet. Guess what? It's the inside sales team. I don't have to educate you for 6 months. I'm going to work with you for a month or two. You know what it is. You just don't have it yet. Maybe you've got a competitor and you're ready to come to me. I still need to hold your hand to help you pick the right thing and to help you see why I'm better than the competition. But I don't need somebody on site whining and dining you for days at a time. Fast forward a little more. Right? When everybody's familiar with this, when it's a product that everyone's comfortable with, I've got no problem clicking a button and buying it myself. Okay. When more competition enters, we need to drive the cost out of our sales processes. And that's how and why you see people making this shift. You may also see when this e-commerce comes around, people offshoring, right? Another reason inside sales is growing, here it comes again, is because as the public gets more comfortable, we have to make products more accessible more quickly, not just driving out the price, but gaining market share. In fact, my company, Factor 8, just got a lead from a pharmaceutical company, a medical sales folks who have a new drug. And guess what? It's about speed to market. They have a short window of time until the competition is going to enter. Now, this isn't something that we haven't seen before. People have bought drugs for this type of affliction in the past. So I don't need a ton of education. I need speed to market. I need to hit as many doctors as possible before my competition enters the market. And that's inside sales. Is that making sense to everybody? Let me give you a couple more examples. Remember this? I had to tell my kids what this is. This is a PC, a desktop. And 20 years ago, my job was helping teach brand new reps for IBM how to sell this to businesses over the phone. Now, I know that sounds weird, but 20 plus years ago, IBM didn't sell direct. They were a manufacturer who sold it to a distributor, pardon me, who sold it to a reseller, who sold it to a retailer, and then you went to Best Buy to buy it, right? IBM went direct. And they had to sell directly to businesses. And my job was to train them how to do that virtually. And let me tell you, they thought I was nuts. You can't buy a computer over the phone. Are you crazy? Flash forward 15 years ago, I was doing the same thing for SAP, right? My job was to teach everybody around the world how to sell software over the phone. And I remember very distinctly, I was launching an outsourced sales center in Singapore who was going to serve all of Asia. So I had reps there from Korea. I had reps from the Philippines, from India, from Australia, from Indonesia. Whew, that was fun, learning all the names and accents. The day that we were launching, I invited the country bigwigs to come in and give a little motivational speech. And the woman from Singapore stood up and said, I don't know what you all think you're doing here, but no one will ever buy software over the phone. I wish I'd kept in touch with her. So I invited her quickly off the stage. And then within a few months, we were taking $1 million orders. And obviously the world has marched on. Yes, you can buy software virtually. Think of the first car you ever bought. Could you imagine doing it without seeing it? Without taking a test drive? Hello, look where we're at today. I don't think I could buy a car from a vending machine. They'll come buy your car 100% online at Carvana, right? If that seems weird and shocking to you, that's how it felt 20 years ago, 10 years ago with computers and software. Think about buying a home, right? I just recently did. You bet I had to go there on site. You bet I worked with a realtor. It was complex. It was confusing. It was a little bit scary. Hey, there's about 10 people in that space with Homey and OfferPad and others right now. Even more complex and expensive things are shifting to the right for the sales channel. That's why Inside's growing so fast. Folks who have been traditionally field and not ready to give it up aren't going straight to e-commerce. They're taking advantage of what's in between, and that's virtual selling. Here's another example I love. One of the reasons this is happening is that millennials and Gen Z are just so much more comfortable buying digitally. I'm doing back to school shopping with my kids. You know how many stores I have to go to just to get like 6 pairs of tennis shoes that they can try on? It's really painful. Hello, enter Zappos. I have 20 pairs sent to my house. They try them on and they make it nice and easy for me to send 19 pairs back. Okay. Smart companies are listening to their consumers and how they like to buy. We want speed. We want selection. We want convenience. They're shifting right. In B2B, that means massive growth in digital sales. Now, another thing that means massive growth in digital sales is COVID-19. So take a look at this. In 2018, there were many studies done. AAISP did one of them, so I'm citing them here. And they said that inside sales was growing at a rate of 14x field sales. Now, I've seen 3 or 4 other studies, right? So I'm just going to give you a range. That middle is growing 10 to 20 times faster than field sales. And then COVID happened. And guess what? Field sales stopped existing. The really smart leaders of sales organizations were calling companies like mine saying, help, my guys are amazing, but now they can't go face to face and we're struggling. Help us with some of these digital skills. And you know what they're saying to me now? We'll never go all the way back. So if you're looking at a career in sales, I invite you to learn the digital skills, because virtual or digital or inside sales, it is different. Here are some of the top ways. Number 1, you bet it's hard to get a hold of people, okay? I can bounce a call all day long and not feel guilty about it. But when you show up and you're right here trying to get my attention, social etiquette says I'm gonna have a lot of trouble just pretending you aren't there. Folks, that struggle is real. And we see a lot of field sellers not putting in the number of dials that it takes to get a hold of people. It can take 5, 10 tries to get a hold of one person. So you can't give up. The sales cycles are also much longer because there's more steps. When I'm face-to-face, I would have a chance to chat before my presentation. I'd get 60 minutes in a boardroom with visual aids. I'd get 15 minutes afterwards to BS a little bit, build some relationships, see what's going on with everybody, maybe even take them to dinner afterwards. Holy cow, that's an hour and a half to 2, 3, 4, 5 hours I'm getting with my prospect. You're calling them on the phone, trying to get an appointment. You're lucky to get an hour appointment. You're lucky to get them on the phone. You may have to do that 90 minutes over 10 different calls, and that can be tough. It also means your talk tracks have to be shortened. You have to get to value extremely quickly, and you have to bridge to the next call so that you're always moving the ball down the field. And that can be so difficult to get in the habit of. It's one of the top skills that we teach. Finally, of course, we lose those influence and those visual cues. I've got no idea if you all are completely tuned out right now. That's tough on me. I much prefer it when I'm up on a stage and I can read your faces, right? Are people leaning forward? Are they taking notes? Are they taking pictures of my screen? Or are they talking? Are they leaning backwards? Are they leaving? That would be the worst, right? That's how field sellers are feeling as they're switching to virtual. If you get great at virtual sales, I'm telling you, the transition to field is 10 times easier than the reverse. All right, so it's probably obvious by now that I am a flag waver for virtual sales teams. I've spent my career helping people convert to virtual sales. So let's dig in and dive into the different types of positions in virtual and in field sales so that you can learn which one might be right for you. And you might also learn different types of roles you could take advantage of in your own organization. All right, there's 4 major types of inside sales roles, and I'll show you what maps to field as well. BDR, SDR, that stands for business development or sales development rep. An account executive or an AE. An ISR stands for inside sales representative. That's a full cycle seller. And an account manager or an AM. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about each one of these, but here's the gist. 20 years ago, when I came up in sales, the yellow was all there was. If you were in sales, you had to go find your leads, get a hold of those leads, sell those leads, close those leads, then farm those leads, right? You had to hunt it and farm it. That's all there was. We struggled, however. When I found a rep who was fantastic at hunting, pretty soon he stopped because he was busy taking care of all of his accounts. I had people who would be amazing at taking care of accounts, but they never got there because they were really uncomfortable doing cold calls and couldn't get the hunting done. So in the last 10 years or so, we've specialized. In fact, we can thank SaaS, software as a service, for really revolutionizing the sales industry in this way. So most typically, folks, BDR, SDR, and AEs are in the inside sales realm, and your full cycle and your account managers are in the outside sales realm. Now, this is definitely not always true, right? I've seen all 4 of these roles inside. I have seen no field sales. I've seen field sales with just full cycle ISRs and then putting account managers back inside. Some inside teams are discrete. That means they work only with and for themselves. Some are teamed. They might be setting appointments for a field person. Sometimes the field person reports to the inside person, but usually the field seller is a little more tenured and the inside team is queuing them up or working on the smaller deals while the field sellers get the bigger deals. Think about that price complexity and product life cycle again there, and that'll explain the why behind it. All right, are we ready to dig into each one of these a little bit? Let's start with a BDR, SDR. The first thing you need to know is that these are used interchangeably. If you're applying to one job that says BDR and then another company has something similar listed as SDR, it's not a stupid question to ask about the differences, you guys. They are definitely used. I can't find any rhyme or reason to it, okay? Sometimes it's an inbound person, sometimes it's an outbound person. Sometimes they report to marketing, sometimes they report to sales. Sometimes it's not called either of these and it's called lead gen or biz dev. No matter what, these folks are the tip of the spear, okay? If there are cold calls to be made, the BDR, SDR is making those. They sometimes work from a lead list. Like I'm gonna go out and just buy a list of everybody who belongs to the Franklin University Alumni Club, and you're gonna call them all and invite them to this webinar series, right? That's a BDR, SDR. It's an outbound, relatively cold call. Sometimes I get to call leads that have come inbound to me, whether I'm answering the phone, hi, Franklin University, right? Or whether somebody hit a website, downloaded something, and then I'm making an outbound call to see how they're doing, or maybe they filled out a contact me form, okay? That first contact is BDR, SDR. Lead qualification means their job is to find out, is this a viable potential sales opportunity? Every company is going to define this slightly differently, Most use some level of BANT criteria: budget, authority, need, and time frame. If you are brand new to market and you do not have high demand, BANT will kill you because nobody's looking for your product. They don't have a budget for it yet. They don't even know it exists. They don't even need for it, right? So in that case, the BDR SDR's job is to find some interest, people who just want to learn about it, okay? Very often then they are booking an appointment for the AE. And we'll cover that in just a second, okay? So they're going to get it from a maybe to a possibly, from a nothing to a marketing qualified lead. For some companies, it goes from a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead with this role. Is it always there? Absolutely not. Like I said, software as a service, the SaaS industry really revolutionized and made this the go-to model. They blanket hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every week. They find a few appointments, every person each week, and they book an appointment for a demo with the AE. Meet the account executive. Are they always called an AE? Absolutely not. They can be called anything. But typically, if they're taking a handoff, they're taking some sort of a lead from a BDR, SDR, and they're meeting with those qualified prospects. Sometimes they're doing a demonstration, a demo, like my friends in the software industry, right? In that software company. Ooh, that sounds interesting. All right, well, go ahead and meet with Joe, and Joe's going to show you all about it. And Joe's job is to collect your needs and do the discovery call, and then show you the product or service and keep you interested. Their job is to stay with you until the sale is closed. Most often, the lucky ones are handed those leads, but most have to supplement the leads and do the follow-up as well. Your sales cycle could be days, months, or years. Less likely on the years, those are typically pushed to the field. Okay? An AE is often a promotion from a BDR. The quota carriers here, the AEs, shift to usually a revenue number for their quota, whereas a BDR's quota is based on number of appointments booked and number of appointments shown. Sometimes there's a revenue component, but the AE definitely has a revenue component on how much business they are closing. Cool? All right, next. Let's move on to the full cycle ISR. So this is what I was, right? I didn't know any different. This is sort of all of them together, the BDR, the AE, and the account manager. They do the lead finding, they do the discovery, they do the demonstrations, the proposals of value, they close. Then they maintain the long-term relationships. Typically, they're also working on penetrating those accounts, which means upselling and cross-selling. So I'll talk about penetration when we get to account managers, but just for a quick definition, an upsell says, I'm looking at the base model. Oh, why don't you get the better model, right? And the cross-sell says, I'm looking at this, and you say, oh, that's great. You're going to also want this. Okay, where you're adding on or switching over and adding categories. An easy way I used to think about it was, if I'm looking at a printer, the upsell is the better printer, the digital printer, and the cross-sell is the cable and the paper and all the other stuff that goes with it. All right, the full cycle is often field-based, as is the account manager, whereas the ISR, the ISR is often field-based, whereas the BDR and the AE are almost always inside, especially in software. Let's look at the account manager. This is the cushy job that everybody loves. Their job is to maintain the long-term relationships. There's that word again, the penetration. If I've got a book or an account base of 50 to all the way up to 500 accounts sometimes, my job is to maintain and grow that revenue base. Now, as you can imagine, there's going to be lots of shifts happening at any one time. Let's say for a round number, I've got 100 accounts, okay? I need to be getting regular orders from all those 100 accounts, but guess what? 20% are leaving me at any given time. I'm gonna have to pull in a new 20% from those, right, to keep my revenue goals, but I also need to grow, which means I'm going to find new ways to sell new things to the people I already know. I may penetrate an account by finding more buyers in it. I may penetrate an account by finding new product lines or product SKUs or services that I can sell to existing people. I may find new departments. I may find referrals into new business. All of those are my harder core sales versus relationship and service duties. Now you'll see here that I often have a wide product offering when I have an account manager, right? If you own the factor 8 account, your job is to sell me everything you make and everything you provide. So there's a higher level of responsibility on that. Just like an AE, they'll have more tools as well, right? All the different things they can use in accounts. You got to be really good at finding the information and looking through and getting the histories and knowing what's available to sell. You'll also see up here, I say balancing service and sales. Really easy as an account manager to lean back and become an order taker. And that's not what we're looking for. You're going to get ahead when you're growing those accounts. Again, this role is often field-based. That was a lot for those 4 different. Let's take a look now. I said 2 are typically inside, 2 are typically outside. What are the benefits of one versus the other? If you're a virtual seller, means you're probably starting as a BDR, maybe getting promoted to a BDR 2 or 3 or an AE or even a full cycle ISR or account manager. It means you don't have to travel, right? Even during COVID, you're working from home like everybody else is. But even when people are back in the office, you're just going to one office, and you're going to see more and more virtual sales jobs as well, where you don't have to go to the office every day. There's less experience required. Most BDR, SDRs are hired right out of school. AEs are looking for a couple of years of experience. You do fewer presentations. Your sales pitch, your conversation as a BDR, SDR is 5 to 25 minutes long. As an AE, it's a few hours long. And of course, less whining and dining. You have a set schedule. You're not out of town. You're not out late. It's regular, steady hours with the upside of that OTE, or on target earnings. All right, let's look at the field side of things. Field sales are almost always a higher dollar amount. These guys can make the big bucks. When you've got lots of sales experience, you've been selling a long time, you're selling a high price point item that's complex, you'll put in the time for the long sales cycle, the commission checks are beautiful. Now, guess what? For some of us, the benefit is travel and whining and dining. Your field sellers are often going to get a little more respect than your inside sellers. They're known as the tenured people, right? They're known as the top of their field. They got a little more swagger going on, and certainly more autonomy. When you're inside, your boss is at that sales center, right? On that sales floor. When you're outside, your boss may live in a different city, and you see her once a year when she flies in, or once a year when you fly in for the annual sales meeting. All right. Whew. A lot of times, folks, inside is a career path to outside. Okay. And I do highly recommend it. Polish those sales skills, because you can earn more with each step on those 4 different positions. So let's talk about doing that. How do we transition, and how do we get ahead? What do leaders look for? If you're in a BDR, SDR role, the number one thing you want to make sure you do is kill it on activity. Inside sales is like baseball. They measure everything. People know how many call attempts you're making every single day. Okay. So don't get lazy. Always have that go for it spirit, making a high number of dials. They're going to look at your close percentage. What percentage of people you talk to are you getting to book meetings or commit? And they're going to look next at the show percentage. Nobody likes no shows. If you're booking 20 meetings a week and half of them aren't showing, people are going to be onto you quickly. If you're known as the guy or gal who books a lot of meetings and they're good quality ones, you will rise very quickly. We're looking for folks who are competitive, folks who have structure to their days. Folks, if people are telling you to get into sales because you have the gift of gab, that might get you into sales, but it will not help you excel. It's the people who look at it as a process, who've got a method to how they approach the leads, the book, the accounts, and their day that get ahead. And of course, the last one I'll put on here is a learning focus. BDR, SDR is typically the brand new position in sales. You want to be the person that's thirsty. Look for more training, look for job shadowing, look for call coaching, look for feedback. Be supremely curious and coachable, and you'll get ahead fast. Next, the AE. You want to get ahead, you want to meet AE2, you want to get promoted to field or account manager or whatever that next step is in your organization. It's all about your close percentage. What percentage of the meetings that you do or the demos that you do convert into sales? You will focus on discovery, great discovery. That's going to get you a higher close percentage. Again, with the process and the structure, if you're not afraid to go generate your own leads, people will know your name very, very quickly. And if you can not give the same presentation over and over, but customize it based on your discovery, people will notice. The final thing I have here is forecasting. It's so tough for a rep to tell you what's going to close. And when you're somebody who can do it and do it accurately instead of wishful thinking, folks will notice. All right, the full cycle ISR, what are we looking for? Well, not just the revenue now, but the profit margin. What makes you different than everybody else? Being a good hunter, folks. The full cycle, it's really easy to shift into just babysitting accounts. Don't do it. Hunt and grow. And the only way you're going to do that, again, is with good process, not just a focus on service, but that third to last bullet point is critical, and that's time management. You've got to be in charge of your day to be able to get ahead and do both the hunting and the farming. Account managers, growth is at the top of the list. Don't just maintain, find new business, penetrate those accounts, make outbound calls. Don't just take orders from what comes inbound, retain the accounts and get more active. The vast majority of account managers are getting 80% of their business from a top 20% of accounts. If you can be known as the person who touches their entire account base once a quarter and has a huge buying percentage that's active, you will get ahead. I want to take a quick moment to talk about women in sales. It's not the number one go-to position, okay? Although women are half the workforce, only a third of the sales jobs are held by women. Ouch, but take a look. We kill it in sales. If you're a leader, look for more female sales reps. Go get them from your service and customer success departments. Encourage them to apply because we're not drawn to it naturally. But when we are, look at this. 86% of women meet quota compared to 78% of men. Leadership positions with women in leadership have 35% higher return on equity. And women score higher in their leadership competencies. And in the sales position, we close 11% more. My sources here are Exactly Gone, Harvard Business Review, and the Catalyst Group. Women are awesome in sales, and I encourage you to get into this position. Ladies, we are hard workers. Get paid what you're worth. All right, a couple more tips on how to get ahead. You want to get up to manager? Make sure you're at target, folks. Make sure you're consistent. Make sure you know your process and your pipeline. You should be seen as a team mentor. You should be constantly looking to learn new things. Want to get promoted to director? Here's where the bucks start, right? The director's job is to manage the managers. They get out of the hands-on with customers and reps and more into process tools and systems. They assign work, they set goals, they hold people accountable. A lot of reporting, a lot of executive presentations, and most importantly, trend spotting. Want to earn this job? It's not just about hitting goal with your team, it's about getting more people on your team to goal, the highest percentage of team to target. Get your newbies up to scale quickly. You'll be known at, it will absolutely differentiate you. Be the team mentor, be an incredible forecaster. And to do any of this, you're gonna have to be one heck of a proactive time manager. Want to get the top spot? This is where the big money is, folks. It is tough to get the promotion to VP. They're often hired from the outside because they're bringing some sort of special magic pixie dust, right? Industry experience or their portfolio or strategy or their go-to-market focus or their own leads that come with them. There's this big perceived gap between director and VP. So often directors are going to have to bump out, go to smaller organizations to get the VP title. Then you'll be headhunted like crazy. You'll see that VPs change companies every 3 to 6 years. They often report right to a CEO, CRO. The VP sets the number, they determine the headcount, they create the go-to-market strategy, they create the sales dashboards, they fight for the budgets, right? They're out there getting the headcount and all the enablement for what their team needs. They might own inside, they might own outside, or both. Cool? 50 to 75% of their time is spent outward and upward, not really involved with the day-to-day anymore. Want to earn it? Consistently outperform over and over and over with lots of different size teams. But frankly, in your own company, most of it is about being recognized as an executive presence. People will remember you as the rep you were 5 years ago, okay? You need to have that executive feel, that it factor. You need to have experience in different industries and different team sizes. They'd rather have experience owning teams than experience in the company. So go get it somewhere else if you need it, okay? You also need to be known as the go-to for your predecessor. Okay, a couple key skills to advance in any of these roles. Voicemail, email, and social media. Be an amazing communicator, be professional, proficient. It will make all the difference. Outbound phone confidence. Enough said. We want curiosity, the focus on helping others. Remember that sales is a helping profession. You've heard me say it a lot of times, process creation and time management. Finally, there's a lot of tools at your disposal, and the vast majority of reps I've sat with aren't sure what all of them do and how to use them to their benefit. Spend extra time learning everything those tools can do for you because they could be your secret weapon and your path to a promotion. A couple final tips to get promoted. Live and die by the number. Always know where you or your team is. My VP used to stop me in the hall on the way to the bathroom. LB, where's the team? And if I didn't know the number, man, I did not get to go to the bathroom. Let's just put it that way, okay? Ask early about career paths, about training opportunities, and about how you can earn the next level. It doesn't mean you think you're all that in a bag of chips and ready for it. It means you're ready to learn about it, and that will get remembered. Very few people do it. Ladies, I'm talking to you. Raise your hands. Get a mentor. Ask questions. Always own your mentor meeting. Network outside your own team and outside your own department. Stay late. Always outbound. Develop your process. Develop your time management process. Be low maintenance. Crave and then nail those stretch assignments. I hope you found a few nuggets in there. I've watched and been privileged to be part of, like I said, hundreds of promotions throughout my career. And sales is a really exciting place to be with a lot of upward movement and trajectory. So I'm ready for your questions. I'm here to help. This is my contact information. I hope you'll find me on LinkedIn. I hope you'll let me know if you've got questions that weren't answered or anything I messed up along the way. I look forward to knowing you, and it's been my privilege to spend this time with you. Thank you very much.